Live from the City of Angels Sunday morning. That means breaking box office and nothing but joy, zero sadness for Disney. We have the biggest ever global debut for animated film with Inside Out 2 banking $295 million globally this weekend. That breaks down to $155 million domestic and $140 international. Again, you see it there from the Disney email, highest global animated opening of all time domestically, second highest domestic animated 3-day opening all time, only behind Incredibles 2. So now Pixar has 3 of the top 4 domestic animated openings all time. Highest domestic opening of 2024 to date. You have to go all the way back to Barbie in July of last year at $162 million. I want to mention one thing here. You go back, you look at Barbie when that weekend hit with Barbenheimer. They had the number right around 155 on Sunday, and then we saw the actual when we see what the film does today, Inside Out, what we'll do today versus what Disney estimates. Warner Brothers went from 155 to 162, so we could see, likely we'll see this number actually bump up today on Father's Day. If you're watching across the globe here, Midnight Movie Talk during the morning, happy Father's Day to you. Let's get into some more details here. It's the 4th highest domestic PG rated opening ever. Disney has the top 4: Lion King, Incredibles 2, Beauty and the Beast, Inside Out 2. 92% certified fresh critic score, 96% verified audience score. That's the highest ever for a Pixar title. Obviously, all of that plays into what we're seeing here this morning, not just stateside, but around the world. As I want to stress again, the importance of Disney placing that 100-day theatrical exclusivity window on this film. Now, some of you are going to say, not everybody knows that. Well, guess what? Go Google, when does Inside Out 2 arrive at home? And then there you get your answer. The answer is, we don't know. They're not even really stating it's 100 days. They're trying almost to obscure that a little bit. But at the end of the day, it doesn't say it'll be home in a few weeks like the typical movie is now that shows up in theaters and ends up on Peacock in 17 days. That's big. Do not misunderstand how important that is. That is key, and we need that going forward, okay? That has to happen with every single film. I want a 60-day window on these films minimum, and AMC Regal needs to go in tomorrow and get that done. And we'll talk about that tonight. That's the big topic tonight on MMT's Sunday Evening Spectacular. Internationally, highest international animated opening all time. Second highest international animated opening all time. That's just international only. Remember, globally, it's number 1. International, number 2. Number 1 in all significant markets. And then we go through some of the countries. Highest industry opening weekend all-time, Colombia, Turkey. Top 5 industry opening all-time, Mexico, Argentina, Central America, Chile, Uruguay, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Israel, and the Philippines. Highest animated opening weekend all-time, Paraguay, and on. You can see all of these numbers. Let's also go into the details of the demographics, and I rolled down the email. We get right back to it. Got to get through Apes and bring it right back up to Inside Out 2. Disney likes to send everything in one email, so I have to scoot ahead. Domestic weekend, 155 on the number. Again, that's going to go higher. International, 140, total 295. Again, all that Rotten Tomatoes, Cinema Score A, that's strong. Same as the last film. Everything looks really strong here this morning. Again, just down the street from me, Disney headquarters in Burbank, California. This is Celebration down the street. And I want to know, and I asked this question throughout the weekend on these updates in the box office, what is the anti-woke crowd doing? What are they saying? Go woke, go break Disney. What's happening? What's the pivot? I need to know what the pivot is so that I can know that if I ever want to pick up that charade, if I ever want to pick up that whole deal and run with that, I know how to all of a sudden pivot to this because, well, this film's not woke. But what about Riley wearing the rainbow sweater in both things? You would typically hammer that, wouldn't you, anti-woke crowd? Yeah, I like having fun with them. him because I don't like anybody who's tribal. If you're tribal, if you only see things through whatever lens that is, whether it's conservative, whether it's liberal, whatever that is, that's boring. Don't do that shit. Value everything on a case-by-case basis, and once you paint yourself into a corner, you have nowhere to go. And that's not how we roll here at MMT. We're always objective. Yes, we hammer films because they deserve it. If they underperform, of course we're going to say that. But this morning, Disney has hit a grand slam. This is a win across the board, and this is going to play all summer long. Quickly, here we go. TD. Two-dimensional, not the 3D. We'll get to those numbers in a minute. 86% of people saw this film without 3D. Traditional 2D. 2D is so weird to say. 64%. PLF, the premium large format. That would be the IMAX, that would be Dolby, that would be Prime, that would be 4DX. Wherever you go, you pay a little bit more, 15%. And then IMAX was only 7% here stateside. 3D, 14%. Traditional, 12%. PLF, 1%. Motion 3D, 1%. Never done a motion film. I don't think I really want to. If you have, hit me in the comments. Let me know how it is. We don't have that at AMC. Audience demographics, male, 38%. Female, 62%. What are we seeing? We're seeing the same kind of shakedown we saw with Barbie. Very heavily female influence crowd, and you can see the numbers here. General audience 54%, parents 23, kids 23, 12 and under 23%, 13 to 17 15%, 18 to 24 18%, 25 34 19%, 35 44 15%, 45 54 6%, and 55 plus only 3%. And again, those international numbers, new markets, you can see all the new markets this weekend. Some markets that have not opened yet for Inside Out 2, even after this $295 million global opening, we still have France, Italy, Spain, China, Brazil, and Japan to open. That's why this film is bookmarked for $1 billion. It's going to happen. The last one ended up in the 8s. This is going to go to $1 billion because of a bunch of factors. And the big one is, let's be honest with each other. Let's do it one more time, everybody. 100-day window. We need more of that in the studios. If they're not going to enforce it, we're going to go in as the CEO. I'm telling you, Adam Aaron gets paid $20+ million a year, and that son of a bitch can't get on a phone tomorrow morning and say, here's what's happening. We're doing a 60-day window. 60. You hear me? You've got until August 1st. If you do not agree to this, we're only going to take the films you give us a 60-day window on. We're not going to get 90. We're going to go 60, and we're going to get it because we have the leverage now. In Adam Aaron, you get paid too much cash. That is absurd to make that much money and not be on a phone call tomorrow to the major studios saying, here's what's happening. Look what just is occurring right here with Inside Out 2. You're talking about the biggest global opening of all time. We're going to go for that 60-day window. And you got to do it now. That's how you manage these negotiations. When you have leverage, you strike. That has to happen. So this is a massive win for Disney. And again, whenever we have this kind of situation in the marketplace, we are going to celebrate here on MMT and breaking box office because we have had a bad summer thus far. It has been tough. We have seen films come in and underperform, notably Furiosa. I know a lot of you are saying, well, Furiosa was never going to be a gigantic hit. Yeah, but it also is way under where it should be, okay? Also, it finally gets to $100 million this weekend stateside, but again, we thought that film could do maybe 150, 200 domestically alone. It will go higher because it's only in weekend number 5, and Paramount is not put that on streaming, but it's important to note that it was a bad summer. Anyone who says that all of a sudden I'm playing this, well, look, it's been okay. Yeah, there's been a few things that did decently, right? Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes certainly was successful. Going back to Godzilla Kong, there's been films that have done numbers. And we look at a Bad Boys 4, which is only down 42% this weekend. That's another sign that we are in a really good spot. And what does Inside Out 2 and Bad Boys 4 have in common? Neither studio is giving you that film at home anytime soon. Let's go directly to the Sony email, down 42% this weekend. The franchise is now, the Bad Boys franchise, $1 billion plus globally. And now you're looking at over $100 million stateside through only 2 weekends. Another $33 million this weekend. Again, down just 42%. Total domestic stateside haul is $112.2 million. And globally, $214.6 million. All of this will continue to surge higher because you're not going to find it on streaming. You're going to have to venture out to a theater to see these films. Garfield also is over 200 million worldwide. Slowly but surely, that film has been succeeded. We mentioned If at $100 million stateside as we go to the top 10 films in the United States this weekend. Number one, Inside Out 2, $155 million. Again, the estimate to date is $42 million. That will go higher. This number is going to be pushing 160 tomorrow when we get the actual. Remember, they estimate today because they don't know exactly where it's going to go. You look at prior films. You go back and you look at it in Incredibles 2. You look at the Friday number and you take the multiplier, whatever the Friday number is, and you look at the final number and you figure out what the multiple is. In this case, that was a 2.56. So if you go 2.56 on this film, it's actually a 158 opening. So I think this number for sure is going up. How much further it goes up, we'll find out tomorrow. Bad Boys, number 2. Down only 42%, $112 million domestically. There's Kingdom in number 3, $157.8 million stateside alone. Garfield, 78.5 stateside. Watchers down 48%. Decent hold. It helps that there's nothing else in the marketplace of that genre right now. 13.6 million on that total. Still going to lose Warner Brothers money at the end of the day. If is at 100 million.9. That is stateside alone. Furiosa at only $63 million in the U.S. Fall Guy is now at $87.9 million, down 42%. It's only at $902 per location. So once we start getting these kind of low numbers on the average per location, the drops don't matter. When the drops matter, of course they matter somewhat because you don't want to see it drop 88%. But when you start getting a number in the second weekend of minus 42% and look at the average per location of Bad Boys, you're looking at 8,500. So that's important. That's why those numbers mean more. Those drops are more significant and make more sense to pay attention to early in the cycle. Strangers has made 30. God, that movie's terrible. Strangers, I have to sit through 2 more Strangers movies, but this is why they make them at 33.9 million. That is now extremely profitable for Lionsgate, and shit, that makes me so unhappy. God, I mean, that really is truly, I told you guys the story quickly. When I went to see that movie opening night here in Burbank, I was like, this is one of the worst horror movies. And I was about ready to shout out loud how terrible it was. And here comes the actress. By the way, here's the lead actress and also the guy who gets tortured in the movie. And I'm like, fuck, I really want to tell everybody how bad this film is. And Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, number 10, it made $3 million in just 2 days, 2 nights. It played Saturday and Monday or Tuesday this week. So that's strong. Also want to note this. I saw Tuesday last night. We'll talk about it tonight on the MMT Spectacular. That movie is one of the worst of 2024. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is truly miscast. It's bad. And that film, you guys ready for the number? It's on the bottom of the screen. Only $440 per location. Guys, that is one of the worst location averages I have ever seen. You're talking 1,000 is bad. This is as bad as it gets, and I'll break that film down in the evaluation tonight. I can't wait. It's going to be funny because it's terrible. Let's get back top story and we're out of here. Inside Out 2, biggest global animated debut ever and a big win for theatrical. And again, we raised the roof for Disney just down the street from where we're broadcasting this morning. They nailed it because not only did they deliver a film that I think most people really like. Do I have issues with it? Of course. Is it as great as the first one? No chance in hell. But it is important to note that audiences overall are happy with the film. It doesn't feel quote unquote woke, which I think is important for a lot of the look at the anti-woke. That whole, my God, how many channels are like that? That whole audience seems to have to take a step back here and not hammer Disney for the first time in a long time. Not saying that isn't earned often by Disney by inserting things that feel forced, right? That's my definition of whatever woke is. And I will say this. At the end of the day, I don't care if you're anti-woke, pro-woke, wherever you fall on the spectrum, you need to know that Disney has to be celebrated and commended very, very highly for putting that 100-day window on this film. Look what happens when you do that. Nearly $300 million debut here for this film. We'll discuss it more tonight. All that coming up tonight on the MMT Sunday Evening Spectacular. If you left a comment, I'll get to it tonight. I am pressed for time. This is a tight stream. Love you all. See you next time. MMT live from LA. Breaking Box Office is out.